Awesome. So, welcome to the aspect of my project, Vernal, Vernalia, where it's a web browser application, translation application that, for the time being, is using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For the HTML aspect here, we kind of have what specs I wanted the code to have, or like kind of the way the code will be laid out. So we got the header that has the name of the application. Then we have this section right here that has all the controls needed for the translators. So there's the drop down for the language. Um, since I am using JavaScript to add the languages in, it does just have the option, or it has the drop down that just has select your language that you want to translate a phrase into. Then after that, you do have the dialect drop down next to it. So once you select the language, you'll then be able to select the dialect that you want to translate into as well. Underneath that, we have the translation area. So this is where you'll find two text boxes. The first text box will be where the user will enter the phrase that they want to translate. For the time being, since I did have to rush, um, the user is only able to do hello, how are you, goodbye, um, how are you, oh, in there, cool, or thanks. And then you'll then see underneath that text box a div where it kind of shows the amount of characters that the user has written in the box, and then there's also a clear button for them to clear out both text areas as well as the drop down options. Then next to that input text box, you'll see an output text box where the translation will appear after you click the translation button that can be found in the action area. That's here. It will also underneath, after you click the button, it will show a status message saying, hey, it was translated. Boom. Here we have kind of a feedback section for the site. This is to help kind of get user input of how the app is working. I did have to do some research on this just to kind of figure out how to make the feedback form work properly the way I wanted it to, because I wanted to have it where you, like when you Google, you're able to select the stars. That's kind of what I wanted to do. So I did have to do some research on that. Um, I did also learn about the legend, which was pretty cool. How it makes it look pretty awesome. I did like that feature as well. But here it kind of shows the stars. To do that, you basically make a class where it's called stars. It will have a role of radio group, and then it will have a aerial label called rating. So you'll kind of put, okay, so the type, it's radio, rating, ID, it's a star 5, value 5 stars. So then you'll have a label underneath that where it'll be like, okay, so if the user selects 5 stars, that's a 5-star rating. And then kind of just going down the list, you select 4 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, and 1 star, 1 star, obviously. Um, and then there will be a select a rating message of like encouraging the user to select either if it's a 2-star, 3-star experience and whatnot. Then below that rating, you'll then see a text area for the user to input their name, as well as kind of like a message of what they experienced. And then after they submit they'll have then a send button. And then after they do click on the send button, it will show a feedback message of like, hey, thanks for, or it says, thank you, name of the person, you submitted a 5-star review. Boom. And here is just the footer for the site. So privacy, boom, boom. Obviously, since I did not have time to on that, um, work on having separate pages, I didn't worry too much about it, but I did kind of just have, oh, here's our privacy policy, terms of service and whatnot, and then the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Here is the CSS of the code. It's just basically um, the look of the code. So we got the body, the page container, the H1, translation controls. Um, I can actually Let me go ahead and run the server real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. Uh, Check out the CSS real quick. Good. Go ahead. This. With the CSS, kind of just the way the look is. Um, but yeah, and if you make it small as it's media, so kind of go with the flow, make it look nice still. Obviously, full screen, boom, amazing. But yeah, that's just the CSS. Not too much to explain there. It's just the styles of the web page in itself, and then the media. Um, then we got the JavaScript. Very cool aspect. The first part here, it stores all the available languages, dialects, and translations. Because of time and because the AI model is not built yet, I kind of just hard coded that into the code. So you have your label that is English. So um, we got English stored, and then it will have the dialects. The dialects are individual things. So we got the standard English with the different translations. So hello is hello, how are you is how are you, goodbye is goodbye, thanks is thank you. And then we just do the same thing with the southern dialect. We name the dialect, and then we add the translations for that. Same thing with the British, and then I did use Spanish, kind of same concept as the English aspect as well. Next, we have the translator page element. So this right here is what is used for the translation aspect. So that way it grabs this and it will translate this way. These elements right here are for the feedback form. So it's for this section right over here where it says feedback. Next, I went ahead and made a populate lang function that basically will show in the drop downs, it will add what languages are available for the user to select from. So based on the dialect data, it will show that option there. So we'll take it, boom, and just add it to that drop down. The dialect drop down is basically the same way. Based on the language, it will show what dialects are available. So, for example, in this case, like English, um, if I clear this, you're not able to select the dialect. So you have to select the language before being able to select a dialect. That's the way I wanted the site to work. So this is what that function does. If no language is selected, you are not able to select the dialect that you want to use. Next, we have a basically like, when you're adding, um, for example, like the how are you. If you forget the question mark or a period, any type of character that is more of like a symbol, this function will just normalize the text and not count it, so there's no issues occur. So if you say how are you in here, right? Forget the question mark, translate it. It still translates it even if you are missing um, some type of character. Um, obviously, obviously, if you do how are yo, it's not gonna translate it. But I just wanted to show that aspect of like if you're missing, a question mark, anything like that, it will still translate without any issue. So we have a function that basically translate whatever input the user puts in based on the dialect use. So it will take in, okay, cool. The user selected this. This is the dialect they want. I'm just gonna take the user's input, awesome, and then it will translate it. So that's kind of what it does here. If the phrase is not in the dialect data, it will prop a prototype translation for standard English error. So kind of like, okay, so you entered this, I don't have something for that, so here's just an error message saying, hey, look, I don't really have that translation, so Just for the time being, it just doesn't work, basically. Um, but yeah, next is a handle translation function that basically displays the translation or the error message. So um, after it takes the user's, um, user's input, translates it, it will then put it into the output text box. Um, basically, what this is kind of doing. Um, that is a different one. My bad. Um, so this function right here will show a text underneath the translate button. So the way it was able to translate it, technically speaking, by taking the input and then outputting it, that was a complete translation. Um, if, let's say, the button wasn't working, it would have then shown a error message in red right there. Um, next, we have a function called update chart character. It just updates the number of characters that is in the input. So um, let's say, boom, 0 characters. Hello is 5. Um, my name is Amador. Boom, 17 characters. That's what it does. Um, we have the clear translation. So this is the function for the clear button right here, where it basically clears everything, both drop downs, the input, the output, the chars, and everything. That's what this does here. It has the update message below the star. So this is now going into the feedback area. So here, boom, that is what that function does. So if you select like 4 stars, it's gonna say you selected the four stars out of 5. Um, boom, just that does. Next we have the handle feedback. So this is where it takes an event. So this is where it kind of checks if you put in the right stuff. So for example, okay, you put a 1 star, and then you type a message in, right, and then you forget your name. It's gonna tell you to fill it out. Um, and whatnot. It does. And then if the person forgets something, boom, that's what it does. And then if they do fill out everything and click the send button, it will just say thank you, name of the person you submitted this review. And these right here are just the event listeners. So for the select lang, if there's any change, um, select the language. Translate button, if it clicks it, it will then run the handled translation function. The clear button, if it's clicked, it will run the clear translator function. Input text, if any input, it will count. It will run the update character count. For the feedback form, if there's a submit, it will then run the handle feedback where it will display the messages. And then for rating inputs, um, there's any change, it will then run the update rating. And this right here just runs the application for it to run properly. But yeah, that is how the code works. Thank you for watching. I will see you for the next one.